Go.
Good. Okay, live from Willowdale. This is our pre-election YouTube video. We did one last week. It didn't work out, so we're just redoing it. So if some of you actually did get it, sorry, you don't want to bore you with the same issues. All the issues are updated. So it's our pre-election video. I don't think we'll do one before the election, the federal election here. So let's start with the big issues. Well, there are lots, but let's start with the Niqab issue and let's get that out of the way. Everyone's getting probably kind of tired of that. But it's an important issue. It's about rights. It's about tolerance, about what kind of country we want to live in. Stephen Harper has taken this to the point where he could basically be prosecuted under Canada's anti-hate laws. You know, like he has really brought U.S.-style Donald Trump wedge issues into this campaign, which needed not to happen. He thinks he can get votes appealing to small-minded, intolerant folks, but ultimately it won't work. And unfortunately, it might work somewhat in Quebec, and that's very sad because you know we often think of Quebec as a very open-minded, progressive place, but as we know, when the Charter of Values debate happened, it's not as progressive and as open-minded as we thought. And I think, yeah, it's sad that people will vote on this issue because, let's face it, how many people in Canada wear the Niqab? Very few. And it should not be a debate, should not have risen to this level. Debates are good, but boy, I've never seen anything like this in Canada before. And it's appealing to an anti-Muslim bias in society, driven by the media, driven by all this terrorism stuff, and that's all crap, right? It's just lies. It's all propaganda. It's all fear mongering. You know, I think Justin Trudeau said it right in one of the last debates about, you know, terrorists under every bed. Hardly. Come on. There's not every. Canada's not
just under mine.
Canada's not really under threat from Islamic watch jobs. Okay, we're not. So Harper has driven this as far as he can. Now there's a backlash. You read the letters to the editor page. Looked at the Star today. Boy, everyone's just fed up with him trying to drive this anti-Muslim agenda, which is so un-Canadian. And it's not that Canada's a perfect society, but it is a multicultural, multi-ethnic society, and we do tolerate people. And let's face it, you know, Vancouver and Toronto, non-white people are in the majority. I mean, this is the kind of country we've come. We're not this, you know, Toronto used to be known as the Belfast of North America because it was such a orange, right-wing, nutty place, but no longer. And we're a very tolerant place. We all tend to get along. You know that expression, can't we just all get along? Well, we do in Canada. And not that Canada's without racism. Just read the Truth and Reconciliation report on Aboriginal people. Like, come on, of course we're not without racism. But we all tend to get along. We all tolerate each other. And Harper has brought in the U.S.-style wedge issue, trying to promote hatred towards Muslims and Muslim women, and it's disgusting. And Canadians have rebelled, and that's good. And none of the opposition parties picked up. All the opposition parties, the Liberals, the Greens, the NDP have been good on this. They've all opposed going at this whole idea of a Niqab ban. They've all opposed it. It's good for them. And it goes to show we still have a relatively healthy democracy in a relatively tolerant place. And I was just going to read you a quote from the Star. It's Kathleen Wynne, our Premier, Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne. She has said she was appalled at Stephen Harper's continued use of the Niqab as a divisive distraction from more important issues. She says, "We are an inclusive society. We have a responsibility to find ways to live together in harmony." And that says it all. We have to find ways to live together in harmony. Good for Kathleen Wynne for saying that. Anyways, I'm not going to go on about the Niqab. It's debated. It's in all the letters to the editor page. Most Canadians, I think, are appalled that Stephen Harper has brought it to this level because he wants to try to win votes among intolerant and small-minded Canadians, and it's not working. And yes, I think it's basically he is subject to the anti-hate laws under the criminal code because he's getting very close to it. promoting hate. He is promoting hate, and it's disgusting. Who cares if a woman wears a niqab? There's so few in Canada that do. And who cares? Like, it's not an issue. So many other things out there, you know. So I'm rambled on about this because I want to move on. Let's move on to the other issue of last week, the TPP. I don't think Canada benefits from these big trade agreements, these multi-trade agreements. I think that we never really benefited from NAFTA or the previous free trade agreement with the U.S. As long as the U.S. is a big player in these agreements, we're never going to benefit. They have their clout. They'll always backtrack on these agreements. They'll use their Buy American provisions. They'll use the dispute mechanism process to favor them. I don't think Canada's ever really benefited from these agreements, especially when the U.S. is involved. The Economist magazine says that Ontario is the new Rust Belt. And I think part of that is because through these agreements, the manufacturing sector partially responsible, not all, I'm not that stupid, partially some of these NAFTA and the previous free trade agreement with the U.S. are partially responsible for hollowing out Ontario's manufacturing sector. And not all, can't say that, but so I don't know. I don't think we really benefit from these things. And my biggest thing is supply management. I love supply management. I love getting on eggs and poultry and milk that are from local producers. And every Canadian can say they can buy that their eggs and milk and chicken from local producers. And under supply management, that could change. It's terrible already in Ontario, where we produce a lot of garlic, Ontario garlic and blueberries. But I have to, at the supermarket, I have to get my blueberries from New Zealand, or my garlic from Mexico, or even worse, China. Not that I have anything against the Chinese or anything, but I never kind of know what. I don't know. This is not a Donald Trump thing against the Chinese, but I never know what environmental conditions are going on in China where the garlic is grown. Why are lots of Ontario produced garlic? There's garlic produced all across this country, but we can never get garlic from our local areas, or blueberries. And Ontario produces lots of blueberries. We can't ever get, it's all blueberries from the US or New Zealand, Chile, garlic from Mexico or China. Come on. You know, we're supposed to be environmentally conscious now. We're supposed to be buying local, getting stuff from local producers. And the TPP flies in the face of that. We should not be signing an agreement that gets rid of supply management. Supply management's been good for our agricultural sector, been good for farmers, and it's certainly been great for people, for Canadians, because they get locally produced produce. And so if you have to pay a few more pennies for it, big deal. You want your stuff locally produced. It's better for the environment. You don't, why have stuff come in by plane or boat from thousands of miles away when it can be just shipped in locally? It just doesn't make sense. Think of the carbon footprint of blueberries that come from New Zealand, where blueberries are available, grown in Ontario, all over the place. So, and garlic as well. So, anyways, that's my thing on the TPP. I don't think it's a good deal for Canada, and I'm not against trade. I just think that we shouldn't be. When the U.S. is involved, we're never going to get a good deal, because we're going to get screwed, basically, because we're a small economy and we don't have the clout. And yeah, let's have our agricultural products produced locally and sold locally, and it's better for everybody. Anyways, going on to another, let's go on to another election issue that was a couple of weeks ago. It was a big deal that some NDP candidate in the Hamilton area didn't know about the existence of Auschwitz and its significance. And there were a lot of people who were surprised, but I wasn't surprised, because most people don't have any basic knowledge of history, geography anymore. Civics aren't taught in schools. They're not taught in high schools. They're certainly not taught in, they're not taught anymore. The basic, basic history and geography is not taught anymore, not valued. It's all about science and math. And don't get me wrong, that's all good. But, I remember Fareed Zakaria saying on his Sunday morning show on GPS on CNN, it's a good show, by the way. It is full of elitists and all that, but it's actually a pretty good show. He said on his show last Sunday, in defense of a liberal, he wrote a book called In Defense of a Liberal Education. You need to know basic facts about the world you grow up in, basic history, basic geography. I bet you, most Canadians could not name the capitals of 3 Canadian provinces, let alone the premiers of those provinces. You know, President Hassan Rouhani of Iran, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, was said in an interview with CNN. He said, you know, most U.S. Congress people can't tell the difference between Tehran, the capital, and Iran, the country. They don't even know the difference. And I bet you a lot of U.S. people, a lot of folks in the U.S. Congress who oppose this Iranian nuclear deal couldn't even find Iran on a map of the world. And the basic lack of geography and history is incredible. And so I was not surprised that someone doesn't know the significance of Auschwitz, because you know it's been in the papers. People are also reacting like the way I am. Yeah, that's not surprising at all, because we don't teach basic civics in school anymore. Not in elementary, high school. Everyone's into you know, decoding the universe and all that, which is all good, but basic history is a good thing to have.
I like Mars.
Mars is good. Yeah, absolutely. We know we need. Hey, it's good that I think it's great that people are interested in astronomy, and we need to, you know, search for intelligent life, because, you know, I've often said there's got to be something better than Earth. So the search for intelligent life is a good thing. Going back to what I just said about basic civics, there's got to be something better than what we have here. Anyways, so yeah, no, that's all good. Astronomy, because I think that's basic civics too, you know, basically knowing basic astronomy. So that's the same thing. Anyways, moving on, because we wanted to keep this short. One of the big issues, of course, has been the Russian intervention in Syria, which I think is a good thing. I don't, you know, our friend Andrew Brooks had a letter in the Star last week about this, and he basically said, how dare the Russians invade Syria, you know? And because he did it in a mocking way, because the Americans, you know, as he said, they're acting like the Americans. He said, basically, how dare the Russians invade Syria, because they're acting like the Americans. So how dare the West condemn Russia for intervening in Syria when we've been intervening and screwing things up for so many years? And I'm glad the Russians are involved. I hope they bring some stability to Syria, because Canada, the United States, all the Western countries certainly haven't. We screw things up so incredibly in the Middle East. So yeah, maybe the Russians could bring some stability and some, propping up the Assad regime. Who cares? That's good. The Assad regime, yeah, they're thugs, they're murderers, but come on. We don't really give a damn about that. We trade with Saudi Arabia. We sell arms to Saudi Arabia, the most disgusting country on the planet Earth, one of the most despicable countries. The country, you know, still exists in the 13th century. They behead people in Saudi Arabia. We trade with them. So who are we to condemn the Bashar al-Assad for the things that he does? I mean, he's a thug and a murderer, but you know, he's the one guy who could probably bring some stability. And I'm glad the Russians are supporting him. And we should be getting on board with the Russians, trying to get some international peace agreement done. Okay, and that's something Canada could help in. Harper won't do it because he's too stupid and he's too ideologically driven, and that's not going to happen. But maybe under a new regime in Ottawa, that could happen. I think Canada would be perfectly suited to hold an international conference. Invite all the players. I said this before. You know, the Iranians, the Assad regime, of course, the U.S., the Russians, the Chinese, the major European players, and let's have a conference. The post-World War I borders are gone. Iraq is finished. Syria is finished as a country. They're all gone. A new arrangement needs to be made. Read David Fromkin's great book, Peace to End All Peace, by the way, about the end of the First World War and the arrangements that were made in the Middle East. But a new arrangement is needed, and Canada actually could play a positive role. Our bombing of ISIS is ineffectual, and we could do something more positive. Anyways, yeah, Iraq is finished. Syria is pretty much finished. Kurds will get their own country, which they deserve. And I'm glad the Russians are involved. If we worked with the Russians and worked with the Assad regime and worked with the Iranians, we could probably get a negotiated settlement, get rid of ISIS, and bring some stability back to that area of the world. And it just takes some leadership. That's all. And I think Obama is trying in a certain way, but I applaud Putin. I'm glad he's doing that. And God, they were just ISIS was destroying Palmyra the other day, one of the great Roman sites in Syria, and the Russians are now trying to prevent this. So good for the Russians, and I totally support that. Okay, moving on to the last issue, strategic voting. Before that, yeah, I noticed the Star today endorsed Justin Trudeau. That's interesting. A week before the election, a little over a week. I think Justin Bieber has improved, but I think he's way too scripted still. Like, I don't think he knows the issues. I don't think anyone is really ready to be prime minister. Stephen Harper certainly wasn't. I mean, Stephen Harper's credentials were a joke. He was basically head of a right-wing, nutty, almost racist group of people called the National Citizens Coalition. I don't think he was ever ready to be prime minister. I don't get that. No one's ever ready. Joe Clark, you grow into the job. Joe Clark wasn't really ready. I guess Pierre Trudeau was, in a sense. He was an intellectual and he's well-traveled and all that. But you're never really ready for that job. Was Obama ready to be president of the United States? I know Harvard educated, but he was a social worker and a first-time senator. Was he really ready? Who's ever ready for these top jobs? You grow into them, you learn, so this whole idea of you're not ready. And I don't think Justin Trudeau would be a bad prime minister, and certainly no worse than what we've had. It's just, I still think he's a little too scripted, and yeah, the Justin Bieber moniker, I'll still hold to that. But hey, in 12 days, that he could be the next prime minister. So the jury is still out on him. But I agree. I don't think you're ever ready, to be prime minister. Okay, frankly, I just think you grow into the job. You have lots of advisors. You're trying to make the right choices, common sense choices. So you're never really ready. Even with the best resume, you're never really ready. There's so many challenges. So this idea, are you ready? No one's ever ready. So, okay. And the last point about strategic voting, I disagree. I think people should vote their conscience. I voted for the Green Party where I live in St. Paul's in Midtown Toronto. And it's a funny thing. This is a thing about Canadian democracy. I wish I had this leaflet. I know it's outside, but I won't. I voted for Kevin Farmer. He's running for the Green Party in St. Paul's. And I was walking up St. Clair. The place, everything was empty because of the Blue Jays game. Young in St. Clair, who do I find leafleting for the Green Party, or for himself? Kevin Farmer, the guy running in St. Paul's for the Green Party. And I said, hey, I just voted for you a couple of minutes ago. And he was thrilled, right? Like, that kind of made his day, right? I said, well, you got one vote in the bank. And I voted because I like Elizabeth May. I don't know Kevin Farmer or anything. He's a nice guy, but I don't really know him. But I voted because I like Elizabeth May. And I think she's the most intelligent leader in Ottawa. She's the most intelligent person in Canadian politics, and she knows her brief, and she's smart. And I voted because of her. So yeah, I would agree. And I voted my conscience, what I believe in. I know a lot of people are thinking of voting strategically. Nothing I do that. I think that's wrong. You should vote what you believe in. In Toronto Centre, Cleve and I are helping Linda McQuaig. Great person, author, smart person, former Globe Mail journalist, written many books on politics in Canada. She'd be a great member of Parliament. She's running for the NDP in Toronto Centre, and she'd be a great member of Parliament. And I know a lot of people are thinking voting strategically now for the Liberals in that riding, and some have told me but they really would like to vote for Linda. And I said, you vote what you believe in. Vote for who you believe in. Vote for who you would think make a good member of Parliament who represent you well. So I don't like this strategic voting thing. It's just, to me, it's a subversion of democracy in a sense. Well, it isn't, because you're voting, but I don't like it. Vote for what you believe in, or for the person you believe in, who you think would be a good member of Parliament. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I have to admit, I don't like. I'm sorry the Blue Jays are losing, but I don't like all the hype. And I don't think the Toronto Star should have had two big headlines Friday and Saturday about the Blue Jays. Sports is, come on, let's get a grip, okay? Sports is an opiate, like religion, and I don't think that the Star should be devoting 2 full front pages to the Blue Jays. We got to get over this obsession with sports, okay? There's so many other things going on. I know everyone wants a diversion, but it's not worth having it on the front page of Canada's largest daily 2 days in a row. Anyways, on that note, that's it. We're done. I think we've kept that relatively.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done. Clea and I are going to go into the park next door and have a beer. So, okay, that's it. I think we should shut off.
Okay.